All right, so hey, it was actually just kind of get you up to speed where we'll start from. Is technically yesterday was the first day of the 2025 season, is kind of how I view it. Everything was so busy from the end of last season up till yesterday, and between coaches and players and all the things that are going on around here, there's been a lot of change, but there's been a lot of excitement because of the change. So all these things going on really creates an opportunity. And so let's just start with this signing class, which is the greatest opportunity. And I'll start with the freshmen that we signed back in December. Technically, we didn't sign anybody yesterday because we made the big push to get done by in the first signing date. And I thought at that time it came together even better than what I anticipated walking into it, because we signed I believe we signed 20 kids that day, 20 high school players, 14 from the state of Iowa. And just to highlight a few of just the high school players, I mean, from the in-state, you have the running back Titus Cram, was that big running back that we were looking for, and being a state running back on top of that. We've got some, when you look at Tono Cornell, the defensive tackle coming out of Iowa City, I thought that was a big get at the time. And then the others, when you look at a Landon Coonan, we're always looking for the big frames that we can develop, because I think the key to this place has always been that we've got a great strength coach in Jed, and how we can take a frame and an attitude and create a five-star player out of it is kind of what exemplifies our track record. And we have that, so we've got to bring the right people into our room, meaning the weight room, so we can get them where we need them to be for our team. And those are just a couple quick hits, but there's guys like even Caden Amagon, who was a great player in these small schools in Iowa, and we have made a living off those small schools where they came in here, whether it was Carter Schultz at the time, or I can go right down the list to you know, the different players that are in the NFL today that were just small school Iowa guys when they got here. Uh, it's amazing when you look at Penning and guys like that that have just gone on and played so well. So we're looking for that body. Everybody's not going to become an NFL guy, but man, they get developed here and they become great players for us. So looking forward to that group of Iowa players. And then the out of state. We took another 8 of those, and I think that's highlighted by our quarterback that we took out of the Chicago area. Pleased with him. Two-time All-State player, throws the football, good athlete, big solid player. Then you jump down to Sam Thomas, the offensive lineman coming out of Nebraska. I think he's rated as the second best player in the state of Nebraska by some strategy. I mean, Ethan, you've done a great job as far as, heck, I get a lot of my info from you, all right? But in all essence, and then Antonio Scott. Don't forget about Antonio Scott, man. He came in. Now, he's a 3-time All-State, I believe he is. He's a 3-time All-District or All-Area. And he's not from around here, but athletically, I think he's excellent in basketball and in football. And we look for the basketball tape as much as the football sometimes, because that shows that explosiveness. And I can go back to Myron Glass. That's before your time as a corner. We took him because of his basketball play. I remember watching him in the basketball court as a point guard, and that athleticism showed corner athleticism, and we took him. He became an NFL player. I see a lot of the same attributes in Scott, how he plays basketball, his quickness, his leadership, those types of things, and that's what you look for in a skilled player. So really excited about those guys, what they will bring to our football team. So that's our high school class. The new things that have came out of this is jump up to the additions. I would start with Jackson Daly, all right, the quarterback that came out of Arkansas State. He's Southeast Polk. All right, and that's what that was probably the number one reason that really drew us towards him. Is he's an Iowa player. He was the best quarterback in the state of Iowa, at least in my opinion, coming out. We recruited him at that time, and he went on to Arkansas State. And then the day after Christmas, this all came about for me. I mean, you got to recruit right through Christmas now. The day after Christmas on the 26th is where this all started, the connection and the movement on this. And it all came together that he's coming here, and he's the thing I would say about him that everybody has told me about him, from the high school to the Arkansas State coaches, is he's one of the best competitors they've ever been around. So it's that competitive nature that Iowa player brings to it, and that's what you want, is that presence in the huddle. and that's why I've got high hopes for what Jackson can do for us, because we've got an older guy established that has played coming into the room, and yet we've got a younger guy with the same type of attributes coming as a freshman, and that's only going to help us because that quarterback is basically drives your team a lot. It becomes what you are through your quarterback a lot of times. So that was an emphasis. And then I'll even go to the other Iowa guy, Colvin Miller, who came out of Iowa Central. Now he's from Dumont originally, but he was an all-conference player in the Jayhawk, which is a great JUCO league, and he's really built himself up to become the player. And the thing about him, where he really stood out to me, was in the Graphic Edge Bowl in here, because he did a great job in here, and they bring that game in here. So we got to see him at the end of the season, and how hard he played the whole game was just as important to me as the plays that he made. So those are the types of guys you want, because that's the type of environment you want to create on your offense from quarterbacks and defense from your linebackers. So excited about those guys, as well as when you look at the other list, J.J. Derville, the connection there is Sergio. Okay, Sergio and he are teammates. They're from both Naples, and I tell you what, that came about because of all the things that are happening in football with coaching changes and portals, and everything is so much different now than even was this time last year. But JJ's coming in here, started from New Mexico State, and of course they lost their coach there. He and Sergio are great friends, and Sergio, we tried to get him coming out of high school, but he went on, and so now we get him on the backside of this. Robbie Peterson is an interesting one, because that's a Division III player from Aurora, but he's out of Florida as well. He is the state champion high jumper, I believe, in 2A in the state of Florida, and tremendous athlete. And I just know that Xavier Williams for us, back when he was here, came out of Burlington. He was the state high jump, one of the top 2 or 3 in the state. So when I see 6'8" high jump, and I see corners and explosiveness and speed, that's how I relate those things together, because you find players that are kind of off the edges by really digging into their other sports. And as we know in the state of Iowa, multi-sport athletes are the ones that really blossom once you hone into your exact position that you play here at UNI. So looking forward, those guys are just quick examples, and there's others there we can talk about, but just pleased with them all. There's probably a connection to every one of those guys somehow, some way, prior to that list that you're looking at, that we had recruited before or came about through another connection. And so those guys are all on our campus right now. The 7 guys are all on our campus. They'll practice this spring with us. They're in classes, and yeah, we're off to a great start. And we've been at this for 4 weeks now. This is the 4th week, so our first phase ends this Friday as far as what we've been doing in the weight room. And then we'll go into our second phase the next 4 weeks, which will incorporate the coaches into some of the stuff for developing these guys for what they can be on the field. So we're yet to see them ourselves of what they are, and time will tell, but I'm very anxious to see the fit and the talent that they are, because they fit our needs, which was really our defensive needs. I think 6 of the 7 there are defensive guys. So we need to get better in our secondary. I mean, we need to get not just a secondary, we need to get better in our coverages, all right? And we had to get better in some of the things that we're doing to be the defense that we want to be, that is only expected of us, okay? So we've got to raise the bar in all of those things, and I believe those guys will help us do that. So that takes care of the signing class. I think it was rated 3rd. I don't read those rankings, but I did see it out there. Is this class ranked 3rd in some polls or something like that? Doesn't matter. I hope they're 3rd at the end of the year, man. So, but right now, what's cool is that's not what we look for. We go out and try to find the best that fit us, and through that, it ended up with those 14 guys from the state of Iowa out of the 20 that we signed, and then go back in and add 2 of the 7 that we took in the transfers, whether it's JUCO or transfers, were from our state as well, and the rest are connected to us. So excited about that. So I'll let you cover that one first. You guys got any questions towards the signing class first?
Just looking at the transfer class, Jackson Daly, the quarterback, was it a plan to add a quarterback out of the portal, or is it just kind of like, hey, we tried to get this guy out of high school and now he's available again, we shouldn't miss a second chance at him?
I keep my eye on everything that portal, man. What the portal has created is December 15th through January 15th. That's when school starts. That month, it used to be a downtime, if you will. It used to be called a dead period in recruiting. Now it's probably the most active period in the whole 12 months of the season. I mean, you're working this all the time, so you always got a beat on it, what's going on. At least I try to be aware of what's out there and what's going on. And this one is more so. We recruited him out of Iowa. We had a huge connection to him coming out of his high school, and then when he left, and then it was presented to us in a way that, hey, he actually started the first half of the season, the first few games, and for whatever reason, it didn't line up correctly, and it was a better opportunity for him to come back to the state. So it was more of everything aligning for us and for him that he comes here, and I couldn't be more excited to have him. He's everything that I've told you about being a competitor. He studies the game, and I've only been around him for a few weeks now, but everything I've heard about him, I'm sensing from him just being a part of it. And when you have that in your room, I mean, he's going to make the room better. He's going to make the team better. Whether he's a starter, he's going to have to battle for it. But at the same time, you need that competition in the room, and it came about, to answer your question, it came about more so prior relationship, timing, being aware of it, and we took one. It wasn't like we were out there looking for one, but I tell you what, if a position fell out of the sky today, I'll know about it, and if it lines up right, we'll take it. But it's got to fit right too, and I believe that Jackson is a definite fit coming out of Southeast Polk.
You mentioned with a few of these transfers, based on a lot of previous relationships, is it the way the world is in college football nowadays? Let's say you don't get a kid out of high school, you got to keep that bridge built a little more nowadays as compared to years past.
That's what it is now, and we're all seeing that. You have to be around your own team, and you got to develop that team. And even when you do, there's things that happen that you still may lose a guy. We lost a couple, all right, very good players, very great men. But in the same thing, your prior relationships of the guys that you recruited, they may go to another school. So when you leave that recruitment, we don't leave it in a way that you're upset or angry, even though you're competitively you lost one. But at the same time, you got to end that just as strategically as you go in trying to recruit them in, because 2 years later they might be out there again looking for a home to go back to. So definitely there's a sense that in the recruiting process, it will never end now all the way through their whole career in college. And then secondly, in a byproduct of that is I've spoke to many of the guys that have worked here that are now in BCS programs and things like that. You actually have to go back and make sure you're around your own players, because we take off and go for 4 weeks and go recruit, and your players are back here on campus in the month of January. You need to be around them too, because you got to have a relationship and be around them probably even more so consistently than what you even tried to do before. Because if you don't get out in front of people, they start to think things that maybe aren't true because of the internet stuff. So you got to recruit your own team. You got to go recruit on the road. You got to go stay aware of the ones that maybe you didn't get, and still go find the ones that are still out there. So recruiting has magnified this business triple-fold from what it used to be. It makes its challenge, it's work, but quite frankly, it's kind of fun. All right, if you play it right, you can have some fun with this too.
How much does early enrollment help a player's chances of getting on the field in the fall, and what's most important for them to capitalize on that early enrollment?
It's huge, and I've learned that through experience now. It used to be JUCOs that you take it the semester, right? You take them in May or take them in January. Now portals are involved too. And what I've found out through experience these last couple of years is if you get a guy that walks in here August 1st, you only get 30 practices before he lines up on September 1st. It's really hard to understand the people you're playing with as much as the system you're playing in to really perform in a way that the whole segment is working well together. And versus if you get spring ball now, we'll actually change our spring winter conditioning, because now we got to bring the team together with 7 new faces as much as the freshmen. We have to incorporate those things to get them ready. And so technically these 7 guys will get a season, if you will, 15 practices is technically a 2-day camp before you start practicing for your first game. So we'll have 15 practices before we start preparing for Valpo, if you will. So it's like having a camp before a camp, and then they get to learn it twice. And on top of that, we get to find out what they're capable of so we can adjust our plan in the summer, similar to what I do during a season. If we're not set up right, let's go from a 4-man front to a 3-man front or a 3 to 4 based off your talent. We get to see our talent in the spring so we can make those adjustments in the summer. So yeah, looking forward to all that stuff.
Just keeping track of your guys' offers, it seems like DB was a heavy focus early in 2024. Are you pleased with the additions you were able to make in the secondary?
I'm very pleased. That was a I call it a stress point is the word I'm looking for. I don't want to call it stress, but it was a vocal point, absolutely, because we lost some players there by graduation, and we had to get players in there because no matter how good your front is, your coverage is big, and plus we got to get our coverage wasn't as what it needed to be last year. When we struggled, it was through the air, and so that's why we had to again bring some players in that could immediately help, but also. What do we have? Because you still got Alonzo Morgan sitting over there, who was he was the 100-meter champion in the state of Kansas and things like that. So we've got guys, but you also need depth, and then you need competition, and that's why we did that. And I thought it was essential. A couple of these players are 1 year, 1 semester, 1-year players. But again, my attribute is I want to keep recruiting high school, and once in a while I have to fill a void with a 1-year player. Just to make sure that we got the strength that we need or the depth that we need. So yeah, it was absolutely a target for us.